So I notice say sometimes with a bully regret, even though they usually come our lives to show us areas of our life where we need to work on, where we need to improve on. Sometimes we they treat them like something where we suppose they are ashamed of. And you go fit tell say our relationship with them na shame from the way we take the, carry ourselves in those times. From our body language, you go fit tell. When we say things like, no, I don't regret that, you go fit tell from the tone of our voice, you go notice the shift for our voice. You go notice, if we even adjust our arms in those times to kind of assert ourselves without even noticing that we are doing it. We dey seek to protect ourselves in those times with these subtle actions because low key we still believe say imperfection na something where they shameful. So our comment about regret in that moment, that no, I don't regret this, it's more about protecting ourselves than it's about acknowledging that that experience came with a lesson, and as a result of this experience and that lesson, you've become a better person, you've improved yourself. That comment was more about defense in those times than it's about acknowledgement of the growth that came as a result. So should we now carry regret as you know this constant state of being, or make we hoist them like flag at all times for our life? No, because I don't think we should, because if we were to do that, I think we go end up very, very depressed. If we make the focus the regret itself, we go they're very depressed. Right. But I think it's possible to acknowledge that, to at the same time acknowledge that you regret this event that happened, and at the same time acknowledge that there is a lesson that came with it. Be grateful for the lesson that came with it. I think it's possible to hold these two things at the same time rather than trying to say, no, I don't regret it because it came with this lesson. You can hold both. I regret this thing. It was an unfortunate, incident, but it did come with this lesson. I think it's possible to hold both of them. I I think it's possible to regret a certain role that you played, right? And at the same time also acknowledge that the experience of it has taught you, has helped you to understand that you don't ever want to play that role again. To be in such a situation and say, no, I don't regret it because I learned from it, is kind of like saying, if, you know, you had to make a decision again, you would do the same thing. It's sort of a gray area that I feel like we should not be using very loosely. We should be very clear on what we mean exactly in those kind of situations. So I think it's possible to hold that sentiment of, I regret playing this role, but I learned this and that as a result of me playing that role. I know now that I don't ever want to be that person again. You get, I don't think it's necessary to pick one. In those cases, I don't think it's necessary to pick one where it's like, oh, I regret this, and you just stay there in the regret. Or, no, I don't regret this because I learned, and you just hold that, and there is this gray area, that's kind of still has the capacity to define you in, you know, some light, because you've not really decided who you are in relation to this particular event, right? So rather than having these imbalances or these uncertainties, I think it's possible instead for us to hold both instead of one. You know, I regret this unfortunate event, but I am equally grateful for the lesson that it brought. So yeah, that's not the matter for regret. In a very short one, just keep. I like the balance that comes with it, because at the end of the day, I guess that's kind of what I am looking for, right? That state of mental clarity, that's peace of mind. There is no peace without clarity, without understanding of oneself and the inner workings of one's mind. So I like the clarity that it brings. I like the peace of mind that comes with it. Knowing really who you are and how you feel about, different aspects of your life. So it's okay to regret something and learn from it. We don't have to be assertive all the time trying to say no, I don't regret that because I learned from it. You can regret it and learn from it. My name now is Hassan. I will see you for the next video.